So we know that every dua that is made is answered. And this is also clarified in a hadith narrated by Imam Ahmad, where the Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Ma min muslimin yad'u bi da'watin." There is no Muslim that makes a supplication, laysa fiha ithmun wala qati'atu rahim, where he's not supplicating for something that is impermissible or asking that there somehow be a split in his kin. إِلَّا أَعْطَاهُ اللَّهُ بِهَا إِحْدَى ثَلَاثٍ, save that Allah will give him one of three things. The first is إِمَّا أَن يُعَجِّلَ لَهُ دَعْوَتَهُ, is that He will give him what he's asking here in this world. وَإِمَّا أَن يَدَّخِرَ لَهُ فِي الْآخِرَةِ, or He will save it for him for the hereafter. وَإِمَّا أَن يَصْرِفَ عَنْهُ مِنَ السُّوءِ مِثْلَهَا, or that He will ward off some type of harm from him that's the likes of what he's asking for. So he's asking for something and He'll ward off some type of harm. So our Prophet indicated, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, here that every dua is accepted. But the words of the Prophet himself, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, are indicating part of what Ibn Atta'illah is also trying to convey to us. So you can see again, as we've seen throughout these aphorisms, they are 100% rooted in the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So every dua that we make, either we get what we're asking for, either we don't get it here in this world, but Allah gives us something in the hereafter, and what's understood there is that it's better. And the third thing that happens is we don't get what we're asking for, but we get something else that we need that's good for us. Here, what's mentioned in the hadith is something's warded off from us. So this motivates us to worship Allah and to supplicate Him constantly. And then in another hadith, we'll quote part of it, that our Prophet said to people, Ya ayyuhan nas, inna Allah tayyib, la yaqbalu illa tayyiba. Allah is good and only accepts that which is good. And then he quotes that verses from the Quran that relate to eating from the good that's in the earth and then doing righteous deeds. And then our Prophet goes on to say, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this is a hadith in Sahih Muslim, you also find it in the Arba'in al-Nawawiyah, is that you will find a man then that will have a prolonged travel. Ash'ath, aghbar. He is dusty and disheveled. And he raises his hands to the sky. And he says, O Lord, O Lord. So he's supplicating. But then what does our Prophet say? His food is unlawful. His drink is unlawful. And his clothes are unlawful. And he was nourished with that which is unlawful. فَأَنَّا يُسْتَجَابُ لَهُ. How could his prayers be answered? So indicating here, he was supplicating. He was turning to his Lord. But he didn't fulfill one of the conditions of dua, which is that you have a lawful way of nourishing yourself. You have a lawful income whereby which you provide for yourself in a lawful fashion, whether it's food that you're eating, whether it's clothes that you're putting on your back. So we can see here, this hadith indicates is that the general principle is that every dua is accepted, but there could be certain situations where they're not due to something we've done, to contravene the sacred law. Another example of this is the hadith found in Bukhari and Muslim. Our Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Yustajabu li'ahadikum ma lam yu'ajjal." All of your prayers will be accepted of any one of you, unless he hastens. Yuqulu, and he'll say something like, "Da'awtu falam yustajab li." I supplicated, but I didn't receive an answer. So he was hasty and wanting his supplication to be answered in a particular way at a particular time. And that's bad adab with Allah. And so that is a prerequisite for a dua to be accepted, is that you that aren't hasty about when your dua will be answered. And as we will see, sometimes duas are answered, but what's called the athar al-ijaba, the trace of the answering of that supplication doesn't manifest in the world until years later. And so there's a beautiful section in Ihya Ulumuddin, and I highly recommend that people get a copy of the book on invocations and supplications. It has been translated. And you look at the 10 conditions that Imam al-Ghazali mentions of dua. It's very important. And so there's another narration that they mention is that one time that Bani Israel, they were experiencing a famine. And they continuously prayed the drought prayer so that they would receive rain. But it never rained. And then Allah Ta'ala revealed to Musa alayhi salam that how could I answer their prayers when their sins have made everything dark? Right? So being in a state of obedience in general is something that is really important. Nevertheless, the general principle is du'as are accepted. Whether we receive specifically what we want or something else, every dua is accepted.